Alright, here we go. So, if you're new here, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I hope you learned something new, or at least you take away something, maybe as a form of a habit to, well, first time here, thank you, Laura. Maybe a habit to kind of implement in your life that maybe you didn't know or didn't think of, or hey, that's probably a good suggestion. Cool, great. As long as I can help, right? That's all I'm here for. This week's theme is nutrition, so I will be cycling through nutrition, fitness, and motivation. So for this week, we'll talk about nutrition. I wanted to touch on something that's kind of really prevalent in our lives, something that we all have to deal with, and how we can kind of coexist with it without feeling helpless or deprived and still get to go enjoy ourselves and enjoy our meals or enjoy just, eating the food we like to eat, right? So, first things first, how many of you out there like French fries, candy, chips, cookies, soda, all the good stuff, right? All the sugary stuff. I know I do, like, a lot. Sweets are probably my biggest weakness, especially chocolate or Sour Patch. Considering how tasty the foods are, it's easy to see why your body craves them so much, right? It's easy to understand why it can be so difficult to think about even removing them completely from your life, right? And that's usually what you get. Okay, if you want to lose weight, then just cut out processed foods. It's not that simple, obviously. It almost seems impossible. It's like, dude, really? I'm not going to eat Sour Patch? I'm not going to eat my Reese's? I'm not going to eat my chips, my cookies? Like, come on. Is that what you're trying to tell me? No. There is a way to still enjoy those foods and still be healthy and not, not fall into a pattern of unhealthy living, right? So when we talk about ultra processed foods, as I go through this, what I mean is foods that have been altered from their original state through any number of processes: rolling, puffing, grinding, pearling. Not sure what that is, but yeah, pearling. Adding artificial colors, flavors, sweeteners, and emulsifiers to break down the food. Now, when that happens, obviously you're removing a lot of the nutrients. You're breaking down a lot of what you're supposed to get out of that food. So when it gets to that state, there's absolutely no nutrients in it, right? And common examples are like the ones we just talked about: chips, sweets, bacon, breakfast cereals, fries, soda, stuff like that. That's the stuff we gotta, I don't want to say stay away from anymore. That's the stuff we gotta keep in moderation, right? And we'll go over how you can do that without feeling guilty and without being, detrimental to your goals. So, because it's so much a part of our lives and because we have to understand why we need to cut back on it so much, it's important to understand the health risks when it comes down to consuming so much processed food. There's been plenty of studies around the world that show that people who consume the most highly processed foods experience the worst health outcomes. Pretty obvious, right? You don't eat whole, nutritious food, your health is going to suffer, and you're going to end up with more issues than none, right? Now, when they talk about the most processed foods, it means that 30% of their diet is ultra processed foods. Now, if you eat 3 meals a day, that means one of your meals is a fast food meal, or you're snacking throughout the day on just candy and chips and cookies, drinking 4 or 5 sodas a day, or Red Bull, Monster, whatever those sugary energy drinks, all that refined sugar. 30%, like, holy shit. 1 out of 3 of your meals is crap, right? And it's no wonder that you end up with certain health risks, right? And the risks involved, we all know them: heart disease, high blood pressure, metabolic syndrome, which means you get high blood sugar, high cholesterol, excess abdominal fat. You get issues with cancer, asthma, obesity, depression, irritable bowel syndrome. I could probably go on here. It sounds like a medication side effect commercial. That's just to name a few, right? We got a lot of risks with that. And eventually all these things do accumulate and cause death at an early age, which is not what we want. We want to be happy and healthy for as long as possible, right? So the good news is there are ways to enjoy these foods without having to suffer through these risks. So why is a diet loaded with processed foods raise so much of those risks in us? The reasons why: they're very high in calories and they're easy to overeat. Obviously, it's going to be a little easier to eat a bag of Doritos, Cool Ranch, Oh, now you're attacked. That was before. Um, then eat a handful of grapes, right? Sometimes it's more palatable to eat that food, and that's because they're loaded with fat, sugar, and salt. Um, and that combo of ingredients tends to make the food what's called hyper palatable. So it's like a reward trigger in your brain. When you eat those foods, it's like a little bit of an endorphin rush, like dopamine. It's like, oh, this feels good eating this, so I'm just gonna do it all the time, right? Now the problem with those is that they're high in calories, but they're low in fiber, they're low in vitamins, they're low in minerals and other micronutrients that you need. So you may be filling up with calories, but you're filling up with crappy calories, and that's not what we want. And the other thing they do is they crowd out more nutritious foods. When you eat all those foods, you leave less room in your body. Like you actually leave less room in your stomach to fill it with whole foods like vegetables and fruits and other minimally processed whole foods. And when we talk about minimally processed, we're talking like plant milk, canned beans, peanut butter, stuff like that. That's almost still in its whole form, just kind of broken down maybe just a little bit. So that being said, processed doesn't always mean bad, right? Like plant milk, you're not gonna just eat, almonds and hope that it turns into milk. No, you have to turn it into that and break it down so you consume it that way. So everything again is moderation. Now the difficult part about that is that, especially if you live here in the U.S. and the States, that shit's all around us, like literally. 57.6% of the caloric intake in the U.S. on average is from ultra processed food. That's over half of what people are consuming in America is ultra processed. There's no wonder that we have so many issues with obesity and all that, right? Heart disease, high cholesterol, diabetes, all that. Now compare that to the rest of the world, where France is 35.9%, Mexico 30%, Chile 30%, less than half, a third of what they eat, right? It's still a lot, but I'm sure they're eating a lot more wholesome fruits and vegetables. And that's what you really need to kind of counteract those processed foods, because those are still going to be a part of our life. So because they're going to be a part of our life, it's going to be a challenge to minimize or moderate or figure out, how do I do this, right? So a couple of things to consider. First, consider how you feel about the food, right? Like, how do you feel about processed foods? Do you feel extremely guilty when you eat it? Like, do you say, okay, I'm not going to eat them at all, and then the moment you do, you just kick yourself and beat yourself up for eating it? That can be detrimental, right? You don't want to be so harsh on yourself. Or are you able to eat it carefree and not even care that you're eating it and feel fine? I don't care. I'm just going to eat it. Right? We got to find a happy medium where we have that balance of moderation between our whole foods, our whole nutrition, and our junk food, our fun food, right? It's okay to eat chips. It's okay to have a cookie. I'm not going to sit here and tell you not to. It's about understanding how to balance it all out, right? So the dose is what makes the poison, right? How much you give yourself is how much you're either sickening yourself, in a sense, putting toxic chemicals in your body, or the more fruits, vegetables, nutritious, good food that your body can digest and pull nutrients out of, right? That's what we got to figure out. So whatever your indulgence may be, whether it's, the ice cream cookie sandwiches from Trader Joe's with chocolate chips on the edge. I like those. Those are really good. Don't judge me. But I'm okay with eating those every once in a while, because I know that the rest of my meals and my diet is on point. Like, I'm not eating an ice cream cookie sandwich every night. I've had a box in the freezer for like 2 weeks. I've only had one. Right? So it's moderation, it's self-control, it's knowing that, yes, I can have it, but I don't need to have it every day. And I don't need to consume it to make me feel better. That's not what that's about. It's, learning that relationship that you have with food to be able to say no when you have to. All right. But if your diet's mostly made up of all this food, if you go eat, chicken nuggets, or a chicken sandwich, or a burger, or chips all day and soda, and you're not at your goals, you're nowhere near them, then don't have that ice cream cookie sandwich at night. Definitely not, right? You're nowhere near a point where you can indulge and not feel guilty. And if you don't feel guilty, then maybe your goals aren't important enough to you. Sorry. Don't get mad. Now another thing though, like I've kept mentioning, I'm not going to tell you to cut them out completely, because cutting out completely can have negative effects, right? Have you ever told someone or been told you can't have something, you can't do something, you can't go somewhere, you can't be with these people? What's the typical response to that? I'm gonna do what I want. I'm gonna do it anyways, and especially now that you're telling me not to, I want to do it more. Don't touch the hot stove. Why not? It's hot. Oh. Right? It's just human nature to be curious. And this is even more true with food, right? Like, if there's a red velvet cake, and don't eat that, man. You shouldn't eat that. Why not? I now want it more. You shouldn't have told me that, right? If you get told not to eat something, you're gonna crave it more. You're gonna eat it because it's on your mind. So it's best to not have a don't have any at all or else mentality. Like don't make yourself feel like, oh, you can't have nothing, or you're an idiot if you do. Don't do that to yourself. It's more about don't eat as much as you normally do. So if you have a whole bag of chips during the day, have half a bag of chips, right? If you have 2 sodas for the day, try to have 1 soda for the day. That's a win in your life, right? That's a win in someone else's life who has a hard time putting down the cookies. But if they can eat 2 instead of 3 or 4, that's a small win, right? So yeah, just eat less of the junk food you already do to try to minimize as much as possible. And I guarantee that over time, you're going to start to slowly eat less and slowly eat less and slowly eat less. Okay? Change those habits. This is cool because it kind of ties in with what I talked about last week. You're going to want to aim for small improvements each day. So 1% better every day, right? We're creatures of habit. We can't expect to overhaul our entire diet or meals in 1 day or 1 week. Sometimes even a month. It might take longer than that. And you got to be patient with that process, right? As long as you change those small habits throughout the day or throughout the week and do a little bit better each day, you're going to get better, okay? So you have to break it down. That's how you can be more successful. That allows you to have your small wins, celebrate them, and continue to go forward, okay? If you do eat highly processed foods already, and it seems crazy to think that you can make these small changes, you're like, well, what do I do? All right, if you eat burgers, or if you like hot dogs, or if you like sandwiches, instead of the white bread you usually have, get some whole wheat bread, whole grain, spinach wrap, right? There's different options that you can manipulate to still enjoy your meal without feeling like, oh, I'm just eating healthy now. Go to In-N-Out, get your freaking double, just protein wrap it. That's okay. You're not doing it every day. Don't beat yourself up about it. Instead of having a bag of chips for the day or a cookie for your midday snack, grab a fruit, grab an apple, grab an orange, grab a handful of grapes, cherries, plums, mangoes, pineapple, honeydew, melon. There's a lot of fruit you guys can eat, right? So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind that you can make these small little tweaks to still win each time you sit down for a meal. Dinner, instead of getting fried chicken, get rotisserie. Still good. Actually, sometimes it's more flavorful. If you think about it, you can put it in a salad, put it in soup. All right, so last thing I want to touch on is a lot of times we consume these foods not knowing why and not maybe looking in at why we eat the way we do, and sometimes we have these triggers that we don't realize, right? Or sometimes we just don't make time to make it a priority. Like, are you too busy to pack your lunch? Is that why you had to go get fast food again? Or a meal somewhere else, Maybe we take 2 to 3 hours on the weekend to make sure that we have our meals prepped. Or just have our food cooked so that we can prep each morning. You don't necessarily have to make containers for the whole week. You can make it each day, right? Make it easy for yourself. Do you really like to have ice cream every night and sit with a bucket or a pint on the couch? Is it the ice cream, or does it make you feel better about something that maybe you're stressed about, you're anxious about, maybe you're sad about, maybe you're mad about? You know, maybe you're depressed and you think the ice cream makes you feel good, so I'm not going to deal with my problems. It happens, and that's okay. Now, if you have a family, you have kids, or you live with people and you share like the food, you know, or burgers, mac and cheese, and stuff like that, the only option because that's what they want. Sure, probably, but if your mom or your dad, like, you're gonna want to change that for your kids as well, right? And if you live with roommates, then you're gonna want to just make your own food, maybe. That's okay too. It's your health, it's your body. You need to make sure that you're doing the right thing for yourself, not for everybody else. All right. Once you can identify why you do the things you do, you can attack the problem and find solutions to solving it. All right. Whew. All right, you guys. That's all I have for you tonight. I hope that you take something out of this. Maybe learn something a little bit about ultra processed foods, minimally processed foods, different habits that we can do. If you need support, if you need more tips, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help. That's what I'm here for. All right. And if you think someone needs to hear this message or any of the videos that I've posted in the past, please have them go to my Instagram page, have them follow, subscribe to my YouTube page. Those videos will be there available as well. So you can go back and watch the videos. I'm also going to be working on some new content over the next few weeks. I'm going to try to put out as much as I can to give information, all following within the same thing. So later this week, you know, look out for something nutrition related, that maybe a recipe or something that I like to eat, or, you know, snack ideas and stuff like that. All right, I promise I'm thinking of new ideas so that we can all benefit. All right. Once again, I appreciate you guys a lot. I really love to see names return, new names, so I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I really look forward to seeing you guys here next week. So just remember, I love you guys. Love yourself. Go be the best version of yourself. Peace, y'all.